You said you were interested in the wilderness as long as you can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any influences that inspired that desire in you?
I don't know if there were a lot of external influences. I had various interactions along the way. Like, as a kid, we'd go camping in the mountains or something, and I loved that. And then as I got older, we went on different summer camps, I guess, and in the mountains, and I love those experiences, right? And that was probably the biggest inspiration, not necessarily from any one individual. It was just a feeling that was always right inside, come from within,
Yeah.
And that was always, a dream and a happy place for me to be, kind of thing, right? It brought out good feelings always.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I liked it, and I just knew I was drawn. I was not meant to be in the prairies, but I needed that to learn.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest influence to want to be in the wilderness and mountains. It was inborn desire. So, and it was what I, was happy to do. So I was grateful that I got to experience it. We can live our dreams. Each person can, if you really want to. Just don't. My advice is never stop dreaming them.
Yes.
Never stop looking for them, because they'll come. They'll come when the time is right, and they'll come in a better way than you imagine. I couldn't ask for better than what I got to have, and what I've gotten to experience, right? When I was younger, I had basically 3 dreams. One was to have a family, one was to build a log home, and one was to live in the mountains. And I got to do all of them, so I never missed out on any dreams, and I'm very grateful for that. And I just never quit dreaming them, right? When I was younger, I'd get impatient because, why am I still here doing this and I don't like it? And you get that way in life sometimes, right? Where you feel like you're in the wrong place and you can't get to the right place, but you want to be in the right place so bad.
Yeah.
If it's truly the right place, it comes, and you gotta keep dreaming it, keep seeing it. So
that's the thing about modern society, is it kills those dreams in some people, but you got to keep that a part of your childlike self alive, and that's part of it is dreaming and believing anything's possible, and it's never too late.
Yeah, and it's hard when we live in a world of basically instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
If you want something, you want it now, and you get it now, right? If you want to know something, you want to know it now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be patient. You can, have it now if you want to. You might have to pay for it. It might cost you something, but you can have it if you want it now. And that's kind of the world we live in, which is too bad. That's why I like the off-grid life, and that's why I like simplicity. Because I don't need now. I have now. I don't need to have gratification for now. I need to experience now. And for me to experience now, take away those conveniences, because that's really all they are. And they rob you. They rob you of an experience, and so that's why I like the experience.
There's a lot more meaning in things that take time to get.
That's right.
So
it's a lot of meaning when you got to go to the well to pump the water, as opposed to just
exactly.
turning a tap on, right?
And
then all of a sudden you're thinking, that tap's on for 5 minutes already. How many gallons of water has that gone down the drain now, right? And when you think about stuff like that, you go up there and pump it. All of a sudden a 2-gallon bucket goes an awful long ways. 2 gallons of water will do an awful lot for you. And you start learning these simple things and experiencing them. This is my biggest, some of my biggest passions into the off-grid lifestyle. Being independent and free to have that experience. To see the value in what life is. To see the value in day-to-day life with the things that you can physically do yourself to take care of yourself. So that all kind of ties into, off-grid living, right? the biggest thing for off-grid living that we have, it's a convenience, is power. You know, we set up a solar system. Um, Having solar power is nice. It's, you know, once you've got it set up, it doesn't cost you anything. You know, your cost is all in the setup. But you can make it big, you can make it small, and you can take something very small and very inexpensive and still have good results, right? It doesn't have to be a big system. It doesn't have to be elaborate, right? The more bigger your system is, the more elaborate it gets, the more conveniences you're giving yourself, which means you're not back at that simple experience anymore, right? You get further and further away from that, right? And so that's one of the things I like to always try and maintain in the back of my head. Do I need a light? Not really, but they're nice. Can I get by without a light? Well, let's see, the folks in the old days did, and they did for many, many, many years, right? They didn't have lights, they had candles, which we have lots of too. But, you know, we use lights very sparingly, and our water, you hand pump it. So you don't waste it, you know. So our conveniences, we try to, you know, to manage in a good way. And then not because we can't have them, it's because we want to experience this life for its simplicity and its value in it, right?
Yeah, there's so much we take for granted, and by doing all these things yourself, you really just appreciate so many little, seemingly little things. You appreciate so much more.
Yep. And, you know, we do, you know, we pump our water by hand here. Our house is heated with wood. We chop our wood, we split our wood, we make our kindling. You know, we get up during the night to keep the wood stove going when it's cold. And everything has a purpose, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Everything has a genuine purpose to it. And I appreciate that because I can experience that purpose. And it means something then, right?
When you desire to live simpler and have less things, you definitely see, you everything you have has a purpose.
Yep. You know, so I build, like, what I do for myself is I try to establish the things that I need to help me sustain being this way, living this way, right? So I'll have a truck, right? And why do I have a truck? Well, because I want to be able to haul firewood. I want to be able to go get my firewood, and I want to have that option to sustain myself that way, right? So I have a truck, I have a chainsaw, I have the tools available to me that I need to live this way. That's part of off-grid living, is knowing what it is you want and what kind of experience you want. Lots of people live off-grid, but they have it set up just as conveniently as on-grid, and really, outside of not paying a utility company or something, you're basically living the same kind of lifestyle, right? I don't want that much of a lifestyle like that, so we limit what, you know, as long as we're able to, what we want for conveniences, right? So, and we have tons of conveniences already, you know, but true off-grid living is really keeping it simple, being in harmony, and embracing that experience of what you can actually do yourself to survive yourself, right? Again, it's going, well, let's go way up into the mountains, and you're going to live. Well, how are you going to live? And you ask yourself that, you know, do I have to figure out a water source? Do I have to figure out an outhouse system or whatever, right? Do I figure out a food source? What do I need? How am I going to sustain what I have, right? Do I have to figure out if I have propane? If I have propane, how do I get it there? And all that kind of stuff. So you think about all those things, right? And that is all part of the off-grid concept you want to have if you are inclined to want to experience that, right? So,
well said.
yes. it's fun. It's exciting, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, so as long as I'm able to, I want to sustain this, right? As you get older, it gets a little more challenging, but there's always something to make it a little simpler. It might take a little more time, but we're not in a hurry. You don't have to be in a hurry for anything, right? The only thing you have to worry about is the main things. The rest of it, just, you know what, it'll happen if it happens.
Yeah.
But you take care of your firewood, you take care of your water, and you take care of your food, and you'll take care of your shelter, and you'll be good, right? And that's really what it comes down to, is how you take care of those 5 essential elements, right?
Yeah.
So, and the 5th one being interaction with others, right? So, take care of all of that, it fits well. And then anything else outside of that, well, that's just bonus experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. You might have touched on this, but has this lifestyle give you more peace?
Much so. Much so. It's given me peace and contentment in a fashion that is very connected to the earth and very connected to life's energy, in why we exist and what we exist for here. You know, I've never, I guess, to me, finances, you know, people need money to a certain degree, yes. You need, you know, that's the state of the world we live in, right? I wish that wasn't the case, but that's the state that this world is in. So, but I've never been obsessed about money. To me, money is a tool. It's like anything else. Use it as best you can for the tool that it is, but don't worry about it, you know. And when we look at that, we never run out of having what we need, you know, and it's always been that way. I think for as long as we have that concept that we are well enough off with what we have, you'll be good, you know. And that you can't put dollar numbers don't define that, as people would like to think sometimes, or want other people to think, right? Dollar numbers never define how well off you are, right?
No.
And, you know, people choose a life they want. And sometimes you say, well, that's not true, you know. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm not somebody else. I can only actually speak for me. But when things are thrust upon us, whether they're, you know, whether it's an adversely affected thing or not, doesn't really matter. It's a matter of the choice we make in that adversity that matters, right? And which directs where we're going and directs what we're going to experience. So it comes down to, what choice do you want to make with this in front of you right now, right? And there's lots of really hard experiences out there, right? Lots of huge challenges. But we have that choice of what we want to gain from it, right? And I believe that we can all gain, no matter what adversity we face. We can be fulfilled and happy in any or through any experience, depending on the choice we make, right? Do we have grief? Yes. Do bad things happen? Yes. You look at homeless people. You look at people that, you know, have come across sudden disaster, right? And you can wonder about all of that. And I do. I think about those things, right? Wow. But it's how you go through that matters, right? It's that choice you make in it. If you give yourself time to feel what you need to feel, go through what you need to go through, and find the good inside yourself, no matter what. Not the good in the surrounding area, but inside yourself, and that's the difference, right? Find the good inside yourself only, and know that you're there for a reason. to me, that's what life is.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Why do you think it's important to recognize our connection to nature?
Good question. But I guess that becomes to the individual on why it would be important to see that connection, right? Nature is connected to us always. It doesn't matter where you live. You're connected. I mean, you got a blade of grass grows in the city. You got a tree that grows in the city. You're connected to nature. You got a bird. You got a butterfly. You got anything that's wild and free. It's connection to nature. Why is it important? Because we need to see and experience and learn how life is, and not just human life, but all life. How life is, how it exists, and how it connects. Like, to me, it's the connection. I'm really immersed in the wilderness because of such a powerful connection. And it's not my connection, it's connection to me, right? And so that's a very individual thing too, right? I feel the connection with the trees. I feel the connection with the plants and the animals and the water and the fish and everything that is, right? When you start to feel that connection, you have a whole different kind of communication going on and a whole different kind of energy system happening inside yourself because of that. When you have that happening, there's fullness. And when you see fullness, then you push that light out. That fullness goes out. And it's not something that's forced. It's not something that's proven. It just is. And, I look at a tree stands there. He has all kinds of scars. He has all kinds of challenges. He faces all kinds of winds and all kinds of weather and all kinds of storms, but he stands there, right? He stands there every day, doesn't say a thing, doesn't complain. He might break a branch, he might bend, he might break off. But as long as he stands still and he stands tall. And that's always been like a metaphor inside for myself, I guess, of how we can be. Face whatever challenges you can. But be that tree that you are. Not the other tree, but the one that you are, right? Because he doesn't try to be the tree next to him, That next tree to him has got the big branches, looks perfect, right? They don't care, it just grows right beside him. And the connectivity and the support and the power that you get from all of that energy is what we can put back out without even trying to. It's what you become is what you are, right? And so that's how I like to see it.
We talked a little about how you ended up in BC, but how did you find these towns in particular?
It's like most everything, by
serendipitously.
Well, yeah, I guess that might be one of the words to use. It's like when you're ready for an opportunity or a new experience, it's there for you, and it comes at that time. It's not there sooner. It's not there later. It happens when it does, right? So coming to where we are now, we came in 2021. And what drew us to this area was I had just gotten into a new relationship with my partner, Susan. And we decided to get together. So we made this move and then started living together after that. The opportunity was that she was looking for a teaching position, so went online. There was this job offer up here. She got called up for an interview. We came and checked it out, and then went back home. Didn't think too much about it. We both had our own lives going on at the time, and I was in one town, she was in another, and the opportunity came all of a sudden. Can you come up this fall to teach? And we've got a place for you and everything else all set up. So here we go. Let's go check this adventure out. And that's basically what it was, right? And then 5 years later, now here we are. Bought some property, built a house, and embracing this experience. And everywhere I've gone, I mean, basically, to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a gypsy by by spirit, I think, because I've never lived in one place very long in my whole life. So I'm a wanderer. I've always been a wanderer explorer. I like to explore.
There you
things.
go.
Yeah. And it's not a mistake. It is sometimes in our nature to embrace things, but we need to embrace lots of things. So you can't just do that in one spot, right?
Yeah.
And so that's my nature, and Susan's quite similar in that aspect too. So
That's how I feel about Shauna and I.
yeah,
We also moved around quite a bit, and
yeah,
free spirits.
yeah, and it's I think it's because we want to discover. We want to discover, and it's not about anything in particular. It's just continuation of that need to discover and experience, right? And I find it amazing. I love it. I my kids have all settled down, and they basically stay in their same area. They've been there for years and years and years, right? But I am truly a wanderer, and I've got one daughter that she's particularly like that too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, to me, there's something magical about. This is something I've been trying to define for myself the last couple of years. Is why I like seeing new places so much, and it's it opens your eyes. Just new experiences are just
yeah, and the diversity, what you see in small areas is amazing. I find that, like, you go here, you go to the diversity between the two areas is amazing, and you live in one area or the other, you're going to discover things there that aren't here and things here that aren't there, right? And that's just the neatness of the country we live in and the vastness of this country, and how there can be so much. I mean, it can be, the diversities aren't just in the lands themselves, but also in the people and the lifestyles and everything else, right? You see lots of that, right? Growing up, spending my first years in the grain industry, I went to a lot of different communities, getting moved around a lot, and the diversity from one community to the next was amazing, right? The cultural variances, and they weren't necessarily real big, but I found it so exciting just to be able to experience them, right? And all within within one province. So it's fun to have that explorer desire to want to go out and discover that, right? Like, I think about Lewis and Clark. Is that it? Yeah. The original explorers of the North Americas, right? And what they must have experienced in their discovery of these, of the mountain terrains and these lands, right? Take a guy like George Dawson, who established, trails to the Yukon, right? It had to be something else.
yeah.
And that's
hard to imagine.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking about. Like, wow, those guys are great explorers, and to discover that, I mean, to go into a wilderness where you see nothing and just wilderness, and then all of a sudden you go in today's world and there's roads and cities and towns and everything along the way. It changes, right? But what it was and how it got to where it is, right? So, but to be that explorer, something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That's what I find. That's why I like it. So, yeah, bit about my gypsy side.
So what was the journey like finding this particular piece of land where you decided you wanted to build? And
well, there's journeys within journeys, and when we decided to start looking for property, because we thought, well, this is such a beautiful area, I never want to leave. I love the mountains, and I don't want to be anywhere but in mountains. So we started looking for property, and we were looking at different ones, and we had a realtor that we were looking with, and he was showing us property and mentioned this one kind of offhand. Basically, you wouldn't like it. It's too close to town, right beside a railroad, and just up on a small hill and stuff. And I thought, well, Okay, so we didn't really give it much thought, right? And then we went and looked at some of the other properties he had available, and we were looking around, just nothing fitting, right? And we walked up here. We thought, well, let's just go check this one out. He said it wasn't going to be very good, but we seen where his for sale sign was, so we found it. And we walked up here and had a look at it. As soon as we come up here, we seen it. Yeah, this is it. And that was as simple as that. It was that, and so we got a hold of him and says, well, I think we found the property we want, and that's that. And that was one, yeah. You didn't think we'd like, but yeah, we do. We'll put up with the train and stuff, right? The view is just stunning, and it's still stunning. I mean, we sit out here every day and look up at that mountain, and that mountain just keeps speaking back, and it tells us a new story each day. And that's what I find so amazing. That's why I love the mountains, because they're full of stories, and they take care of you. And so it was the start to this. So we bought this, and then the next journey within that, after we got the property, was okay. We want to put up a house.
Before we get into the lore of the log cabin, I wanted to share a couple things that we forgot to talk about. Before the cabin was built, Ralph was living in a wall tent for about 3 months, and this art house was actually the first building that he built on the property. I love that it's called the Art House, and I cannot wait to contribute to it someday. And this little shower house was put up after the cabin was built. I think he uses some sort of little propane water heater in this.
A little cabin, where we're going to put it, right? And we looked around trying to find areas that were available at the time, because where the house actually sits now was the road.
Right.
And as we were looking around, we couldn't decide, and we were debating whether to go here, go up at the old shack, whether to go down where the teepee is, and if we go down where the teepee is, then we're going to cut trees out, because we're not going to be able to, have that view of the mountain. I thought, well, walking around here, and stood up here in the driveway, looking around where the best spot would be. I'm thinking, what's wrong with right where I'm standing? And then we both stood here and looked and said, yeah, best spot. And so that's what brought us to decide that this is where we wanted the house. And so we built a little cabin here, and this is what we're in now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long did it take to build this?
We had a guy start on the logs in April. He did the log work for us. I didn't have the means to do it at the time, or the capacity. So I got him to do the log work. He started in April, and by August 28th, we were setting it up here. While he was doing the log work, we worked on the groundwork and the foundation and the floor, had it all built. And then he come in with the logs. And August 28th, put the logs in. Then Susan's son and I did all the framing, all the insulating, all the window installation, everything, right? And got that done. We were in this house by the end of October. It wasn't finished. The walls were still just vapor buried with the insulation and stuff, right? But we had the stove in, we had the chimney in, we had heat, we were good to go. And so throughout the winter time, then I did all the ceiling and boards myself over the winter, and got it all closed in. And then the outside I did first, of course, all the walls outside, because they had to be closed in right away. So that was all done. The outside was all done before the end of October, by the beginning of November.
Nice.
And then we did the inside afterwards. So yeah. So I've been working on this house for basically 2 years. Is what it's taken to get to this stage. And a little bit to do yet, but not much.
And how did you come up with this design in particular?
It's a good question. Coming out of my head, I kind of had an idea in my head what I would like, and so I drew it out. and Susan looked at it and she really liked it too. So we both made adjustments what we both wanted, and we're happy with. And then we drew it up and put her up. So this style of log home I'd seen before. It was basically, it's called a hybrid, and if you look at a lot of camp kitchens and stuff like that in parks and stuff, basically same idea, right? You got the logs around the bottom, the logs at the top, but open in between, right? And so that's what I wanted, because I thought, well, I want to put various size windows in and stuff like that. So depending on what I wanted for windows, which I hadn't decided, I didn't want to have holes cut into the log wall and then only be able to put a certain size window in, right? So that's why I went to this style, just for that very particular reason, that we could adjust what we wanted for windows. And if we decide to go to a different size window later, we can very easily, right? Whereas in a log home, it's not quite so easy. So
Yeah.
once you commit to something, you're pretty much committed to that in a log home. So
Right.
so that's one of the big reasons I wanted this style, right? And I love the wood, so everything is wood. Yeah.
So it was about 3 or 4 people involved in this whole build, or more?
Nope, just two of us. Jeremy, Susan's son, and I did all the work, and then Susan done pretty much all the painting and staining, and I did the rest of the building. So.
What about who was doing your log work at the beginning?
So the guy that did the logs, he did all the notching and stuff, and he took our drawings and then built off of that, right, for what we wanted, and that was, and he had the logs available, and so it worked out really well.
And is it all one kind of wood?
Yeah. Well, no, there's two kinds of wood in this house. There's pine and then there's cedar. So all the logs are pine, the floor is pine, the ceiling is pine, the walls are all cedar. And it's all tongue and groove on the walls and ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah. Cedar came from local, which was nice. I like that, to have them close by. And
Yeah. Would you say a higher power helped you along this build in any way? I know you, when I was talking to you during our first visit, you said you got a lot of windows for free. That was a nice bonus.
yeah, it's, I think there's higher power helps us along the way all the time. And for each person to define what that higher power is, again, an individual thing. But I believe when we're connected, and we're connected in harmony and in a good way with life, good things always show up as we need them, and they become available in a good way to us. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter where you are, that'll unfold, right? And if you recognize it and are aware of it and live it, it always is there. And that's one thing I've noticed with life all along. The more I live with good intent, the more I live with harmony, the more I live within the moment of myself where I'm at, the more good happens. And that's the best you can ask for. So you're never without. Opportunities are always there, deals are always there, things come along when you need them. Didn't get the windows 2 years before I needed them, got them about 3 months or 6 months before I needed them, but it's when we were looking for them and we knew what we were doing, right? And that's when opportunities happen. They happen when you need them to. And so it was a good experience that way. And so it is with most everything. Like, I've discovered that with life, you don't need to wait, I guess, or expect it. You need to just be in harmony and stay in that moment and allow it to come to you, and it's there. It always is.
That's something I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn more and more.
We've come across that. I mean, we set a desire here in the latest experience of getting some chickens and a goat, right? Well, I started the idea of wanting to get a goat and looking for a goat and wanting to get chickens, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, here comes this opportunity. This lady has a hen with 6 eggs or whatever she was sitting on, and she didn't want any more because she had too many chickens already. So she gave us a very good deal on getting these chickens, and they come along at the right time because we were ready for them. And we'd been looking for a goat because I have a bit of a distortion here, I guess. I like goats in. And so we thought, well, we'd get a couple of little goats to have around here. They'll keep the bushes trimmed down and they're fun little pets, right? Lo and behold, a little while later, here's an ad on Facebook. Somebody wants to rehome a goat locally, eh? And
Nice.
so opportunity right there. Didn't have to go anywhere. Didn't have to went and seen the goat. And yeah, she'll fit. And here she is today. And this is her home. So those opportunities, when you're ready for them, they're ready for you. And that's usually the way it works. But we got to be ready.
Yeah.
Can't think it and not. If you're thinking of an idea, but you're somewhere else, there's no correlation. It's not going to work, right? No matter how much you think about that idea, until you're actually ready for that idea, it's not going to happen, right? But when you're ready for it, it happens. And then that's the way life is. Full, meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of chores and upkeep do you got to do around here?
Well, I think we touched on a lot of it already. So, you know, we collect rainwater, which makes collecting water a lot easier. And when we don't have rainwater, we have a hand pump, so we have to pump our water. Getting our own firewood. So we stockpile our firewood. We've got a woodshed. Stockpile our firewood. And so every day it's split wood, bring it to the house, get it ready for the next day, right? Take care of our animals. We got regular chicken coop chores and stuff like that. Shovel snow if we need to, you know, plant a garden, that sort of thing. So not a lot for chores, really. It's you know, simple is not too difficult, right? It's nice to get up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and enjoy the beautiful mountain in the beginning of the day. Springtime is wonderful because you get to listen to the animals and the birds all singing. I like that time of day, early in the morning. So
Yeah.
but yeah, chores around here are very simple and very few. It's pretty easy. So you know, and we just take our time with it. Susan does a lot of it. We actually fight over who does the chores. So and it doesn't matter whether it's inside chores or outside chores. So it's perfect. It's beautiful that way. You know, when you get to debate who's going to go split the wood or who's going to haul the water or who's going to do the dishes, it's always a good thing. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably a pretty straightforward question. How do you prepare for the winter here? I imagine it's just a lot of wood
Yeah,
splitting.
there's not a lot of work to it. I mean, it's basically your wood supply is your biggest preparation for winter time here, right? House is pretty good. You might seal a few things up if you know, I like last year I skirted around the bottom of the house here because it used to be open underneath and get a lot of draft. So I closed that in this year so we don't have a lot of draft, right? Putting stuff away that you use in the summertime that you're not going to use, you know, so it's not out in the snow and stuff like that. That's really all you got to do for winter preparations. Looking for a snowplow now for our truck to be able to plow our driveway and stuff in the winter time, because we have to rely on others to help us with that right now, and that's, you know, which isn't a bad thing. I don't mind that. Getting that stage in life where I don't mind having help. So, but I would like to have my own plow to plow our driveway and stuff. It's nice to have that independence where you don't have to rely on somebody else to come help you out.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing for winter, you know, challenges for winter preparation is actually not that hard. Biggest thing is make sure you got your wood supply in. It's not fun getting firewood in the wintertime for your immediate supply, right? It's fun getting firewood in the wintertime if you can do it just for leisure fun. That's an awesome day out in the bush. But it's not if you need the wood.
Yeah.
then that can become stressful because it's not always accessible and it's not always easy to do. That's for sure. So.
You mentioned the draft under the house, and that reminded me of a question I wanted to ask you earlier. How did you do the foundation?
So it's on pilings. Basically, it's a sun tube goes down the ground with a big footing underneath. And so the house sits on those. I've got 3 timbers that run the length of the house. And under them, there's 1, 2, 3 pilings under each timber, right? No, 4, sorry. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. Basically, wherever I had an upright post, there's a piling in the ground where it goes, So.
And piling is made of.
So it's a sauna tube. It's a round tube, right? And the ones I used was 8-inch tube, right? And go down about 4 feet into the ground, and then there's a big cone that this tube sits in, which is your footing, and then fill that with concrete, right?
The tube is just like a form, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a plastic form, and it stays in the ground. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't take it off or take it out. You just fill it with concrete, and then fill in around it and compact it all really good, and then set everything up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to get into maybe not as fun of territory, what challenges have you overcome? Not just here, but just living off-grid in general.
Sometimes I guess the biggest challenge is to figure out how to do things or fix something, right? Like putting that well in was probably one of my biggest challenges here so far. How to get that well down, because it's 130 feet down, and it's a hand well, so it all went down in sections, and you have a tube with a rod in the middle of the tube, which is what pumps the water up, right? And so by the time you're down 130 feet, you got a lot of weight there, right? And so it was just me and another guy, and we had to devise a system where we could lower it down section by section without losing it, because if it dropped or you slipped off or whatever you're holding it with, you ain't getting it out. So those are kind of challenges you can face, and it's being never to be in a hurry, no matter what the challenge is. Take your time, assess it as best you can, and then take your safety steps, whatever you need to, right? The other things, I guess, challenges was, okay, we're going to get chickens, we need a chicken coop, right? So, and those weren't really challenges because it was another opportunity to build something. So anything that gets built is an opportunity to me, right? So built the woodshed, built a deck for our well where our hand pump is, and so on and so forth, and did the decks around the house here too. So there's always something though, right? And I mean, challenges here, water and channeling water in the right way, so you don't want water accumulating in or under your house, right? So you try to always channel it so it goes around and away, because we are on a hill, and so that's important, right? And we're not on the top of the hill, so we got water that comes down from the top side here, right? So it was about diverting the water so it would go either one side or the other and keep on going, hey? So those are, I guess, some of the challenges that faced here.
Okay.
And then a little bit of gravel here and there to take care of muddy areas and stuff like that, but they're not too bad. I mean, most of them, a person thinks about what you need to do and what is going to make it more easily able to do what you need to do, right? So that's how you want to build things and grow, no matter what it is that you're doing, is taking time to assess the best way to make it work well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next question was, what have you learned? But you think you pretty much covered that.
Yeah.
You know, take your time.
I'm still learning, and there's always more to learn, and it's, you know, no matter what the situation is, you can learn from it, and if you learn from it, you grow, and if you grow, you can learn more. So I learned, you know, I'll just share with you, one of the systems that I've learned a lot over the years, especially with off-grid living, is our solar system. and what we need power for and how to use it, right? I started out with, the very first time I started out with solar, I bought one of these little Canadian Tire at the time panels. I think it was like a 50-watt panel or something like that. That was pretty good. So I got two of them, right? And didn't got a little, what was it, 2-watt inverter or something with with it, or not inverter, charge controller. And so what a charge controller does is protects your battery, so you never overcharge battery. So I just had a car battery, and that was my first solar system. Well, it worked. It worked nice when the battery was charged up good, right? And it did get eventually charged by the solar, but never ever long enough. You could turn a light on for a little while. And so as I gained more experience, you know, I have to always go, okay, backup generator's backup power always, if you need backup power when you're off grid, right? So I use backup generator quite a bit because I didn't have a very good solar system, because I didn't know enough about it. So I was curious about solar power though, and how to do it. And now today you look online, there is so much out there on solar energy and how to set it up and how to utilize it and how to fit it to your needs. It's amazing. But it was fun for me because I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about the electrical aspect or electrical side of it, right? So it was, for me, that was, you know, something you always learn, right? And learning the solar system, learning the off-grid solar system. So I set up and designed my own solar panels, or not the panels, but the frame that they sit in there, right? So the two big black ones that you see, those are a 450 watt panel each, and the smaller ones are 85 watt each. So I've got a total of about 1.2 kilowatts of power that they can produce. And so my whole system inside is based what I've got there. So the power inside can handle any of what that can produce, kind of thing, right? And if I needed more power, I would have to get more panels and more batteries, So, but it's now set up where you can get batteries. One battery will do what used to be 8 batteries, So
Yeah.
that technology is changing so much. They can do so much more, and they last so much longer, and they're way better, which I like, That's a 24-volt battery, right? It does 1224. And then that big blue box, that's the inverter. That takes the power from 12 volt, makes it into 110,
Right. Yeah.
And so my equivalent here is about like in your house if you had a 15 amp breaker. So
Okay.
I've got a breaker in there, and it's a 15 amp breaker, right? And this whole system will produce 13 point some amps of power, which is a little less than the 15 amps. So it'll kick off before it actually throws the breaker,
Yeah.
So, and like I said, the technology changes so rapidly on that you can get it for as much as you want, But your system has to work in accordance with it. So, and there's a formula to figure that all out now. I was looking at that the other day. Actually, a guy was showing it on one of the podcasts, of how to figure out what you want. You take all your appliances, all your, stuff you're going to use for power. You add it all up, and then that tells you how many. And then you use a formula to figure out how many amps it is or watts, and then you can work it all back, right down to what you're going to need for solar panels and all of that. So it's good.
Gotta show this magnificent bed as well.
Yeah.
I was just too distracted by this bed, apparently. Sorry, Ralph, didn't mean to be rude. I love how you've got the curve on that one, and then it's kind of
Yeah, the same idea on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like doing that. I like looking for those specific. So I went and harvested these pieces of wood myself. I went looking for specific pieces, right? And then I collect them for a while, and then I say, okay, and I can make this out of that, right? So those little sticks in there,
Yeah. Yeah, those are cool.
That's Devil's Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Brought my batteries in because that was one of the first things I learned wintertime. Solar system for batteries out in the cold, they don't work very good.
Yeah.
Batteries don't do good in cold, right? So mine sit inside. And that's one of the big lessons I learned is you need to have a good access for your batteries. The other big lesson I learned is your charge controllers, how much charge they let into your battery is very important, right? So a little 8 amp charge controller or a 5 amp charge controller, no good. Because what it is basically it's like a little tiny trickle charge. So it only lets a little tiny bit in at a time, right? So the bigger your charge controller is, the more power it lets in, right? And it still protects your battery so that you can't overcharge it. It just lets it get filled quicker. And so those are lessons I learned along the way. And understanding what it is that I want power for and how to use it that way, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is different for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Each system has to be, individually set up. So, but, yeah.
One of my dreams is for our property, our dream property is to have a creek on it. And that's another alternative form of power that fascinates me is using some sort of turbine in a creek.
Water turbines, and it's funny you should mention that because I lived at a place that did that for a while. We had water turbines, and they are amazing. And the technology, and that's something else now too. You can do a lot more with a lot less. But your water power is, to me, has always been one of the best. If you have that opportunity, one of the best power sources, because it doesn't matter if you got sun or not. It doesn't matter. We have to rely on the sun, right? But you do something like ours where you have solar and wind, if you have the combination, that's pretty good. But water's still even better because water always runs. And especially if you're up in the mountains or in a fast moving mountain stream, which is ideal, eh? I mean, the faster your stream, the more easier it is to set up a water turbine system, right? If you're gonna set one up, you need to go up lots so that you can build. Basically what you got to do is build like a big pond so that drop force of water, the volume is enough to force the speed that you need, right? And when you could create speed with water, you start with a pipe this big and come down and you go down to that big and then you go down to that big and then you go down to that big. You get a lot of force happening by the time it hits that bottom because there's so much weight pushing, right? And so that's the basis of a good water turbine, right? But if you got a creek that's coming down like that, you don't need much of a line to do that, right? Because the creek itself is already that force. So it's a matter of, what you're going to find, right? If you got a slow moving creek like that, you're going to have to go a long ways up too, because you have to have that elevation to make that work, right?
Yeah.
It's either that or I've thought different scenarios about that. I thought, well, what if you had a collection cistern that you kept full because you could get pumping water from a slow moving creek into a thing is pretty easy, right? You can create that own thing to happen on its own where it fills up the cistern and moves on out, right? But if you had a great big cistern where you could have a large volume of water that dropped into a small force, right? To get that weight ratio right is the secret to that. And to learn that, I don't know it yet, but I've always been curious about that myself. So, but water turbines.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun project.
Yeah, water turbines are amazing. I think they're the best if you can have them. That's one thing I miss about this property is we don't have the creek, but I'm not complaining because we have the mountain.
Yeah.
So
Got everything else, that's for sure.
right, yeah.
Do you know any other off-griders in this area? And if so, do you collaborate with them in any way?
There are other off-gridders in the area, but not really. I haven't yet. There are a few people, one couple we know that live off-grid as well. But no, I haven't really talked to them about that. I'm not that outspoken, I guess, or
You keep to yourself for the most part.
basically, I'm more. If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. Sure, and then I'll talk your ear off. But if I don't get asked the questions, I usually don't make a lot of comments. If I have questions, I don't mind asking them. If I know somebody that's in that kind of lifestyle, I'm always curious. So I like to, I always like to quiz people if I know they're, doing something similar or have that reference point. So
Yeah, I mean, you can always learn from each other.
exactly. And that's why I don't mind asking questions, and that's why I certainly don't mind listening, because listening can produce an awful lot for you. And that's, one of the secrets I've found in life is watch and listen. You'll learn a lot. Best lesson. Yeah.
So, what projects are you currently working on?
I'm working on a wood carving. One project I'm working on. Outside of that, I work a little bit, but no, I do my chores, work on my carving right now. This time of year is a nice time to be able to do that. Summertime, springtime, when it gets nice out, I want to be outside and working on different projects outside because I prefer that. But yeah, it's a big thing for me right now is wood carving. So I finished one here a little while ago and working on another one now. So I enjoy carving, and I enjoy the pictures that come out of it.
Awesome. Would you be willing to show one of your carvings that you've done?
Yeah, when we can, yeah. I'm going to put this on display at the art gallery when they open up again. I think if they'll have it there. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was very inspiring as I got into it and started doing it. It got to be more and more inspiring, and now the one I'm working on is even more so because it's a lot different and a lot more to it, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Which, yeah, but I found the pictures come out, and there's certain kinds of carvings I can't do, and I'm not very good at, but this style I seem to fit, and it fits me, and I like it. So
yeah, I would say you found your thing.
yeah, so
I love this piece.
that's a great calming pastime to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't notice the eagle or hawk here has like some color on it.
yeah, and I did that on purpose. So that was the color of the wood originally, right? And so I tried not to sand it off.
Oh.
Just to let it have its natural texture on it, eh? So that's why it looks a little different.
Nice.
Because the wood was kind of faded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because it was faded, it had a different texture to it. So I just left it alone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's why he looks a little different. He looks more silver.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any ideas, projects, visions for the future?
I try not to think that far ahead. No, I do. I probably do. I have a hankering to get out to the bush and look for some more unique pieces of wood. I like to make coat racks and different things like that. So I'm always looking for unique pieces of wood that are in the bush. My coat racks are not too difficult to make. They're pretty simple, but they're fun to do. So I like doing stuff like that. I might make some more furniture. I want to make a couple of different style of benches, and I like making my log picnic tables, but it's hard for people to get them or want them, I guess, because they're big and they don't get moved around. Once you set them up, they stay basically where they go. It's like a house.
Yeah.
Because you're using full-size logs, so. And
oh yeah,
you never know. I mean, there's always something that comes along the way. I work with what I feel I'm capable of, but yeah. Right now, my biggest thing is just I'm getting the itch to go look for wood, unique pieces of wood, and it's amazing what you can find when you go wandering through the bush.
Yeah, that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Do you recommend living this lifestyle?
You know, it's a matter of choice for people, I think. Some people have a lot that they do, and it may not work, right? If you can be happy in life, it doesn't matter what lifestyle you live, if you can find that harmony and that happiness and live that life as well and as best you can. It's a wonderful lifestyle to live like this, I think. But that's my own perception, right? For each person, they have to discover that inside themselves and decide, you know, what does or doesn't fit, right? So, some it won't fit for. It's just not what people want, right? But for me, it's a beautiful lifestyle. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
This might be me sort of putting this on other people, but the question is, why should more people move towards self-sufficiency?
Well, it's good for everybody to recognize where things come from.
Yes.
And when you recognize where things come from and what it takes to have that, then you become more aware of how to become self-sufficient and how to live within the means necessary to survive and not waste. Like, we live in a world of huge waste. To me, that's one of the most deplorable aspects of humanity, is how we waste, especially, you know, in the world we live in here. I can't say for other parts of the world because I don't live in them, but waste is always a challenge, right?
Yeah.
If we could find a way to extract from this earth only that which we need and allow the abundance to flow where it needs to flow like a river, then we'll be much better off, and so will everybody else, right? I believe there is enough abundance that is produced in our world to help everybody, but because of money, we would sooner throw it in a landfill than help somebody else, you know, and that's money and fear, right? And that's all about control. So to me, that's, you know, that's a sad state. Self-sufficiency is a great way to be aware of what you need to live. Self-sufficiency is being aware of the excess that you might have that you can share. And if you're willing to do that and open to helping a fellow person along the way, then you're going on the right path. So yeah, understanding knowing self-sufficiency is very important, I think.
Yeah, I immediately resonated with what you said about knowing where things come from. We're so disconnected now. I'm going to a market and you see a piece of meat wrapped up in plastic, and like you're not connected with that animal really
Not
at all.
Well, and not only that, you're not connected with the source, right? I mean, we got fruit right now. Where does the fruit come from that we get in our grocery stores? And how long does it have to be preserved to get to where it comes from to get to here, right? These are the questions you want to ask yourself. And then we talk about health issues, like being self-sufficient. You know, growing up in the farming communities that I grew up in was very nice that way, because you were very connected. You were very connected to where did my jug of milk come from? Where did my meat come from? Where did my chicken come from? Where did my eggs come from? All of that, right? Where did my flour come from? That was all there. It was, everybody had it. And you didn't have to go to the grocery store to get it. You just had to go to your neighbors. If you didn't have it, you went to your neighbors. If they didn't have it, they come to you. And that was kind of the way we lived a little bit. And I wished we would have lived it more, but it was something that was fading very quickly at the time when I was younger, right? But it was still there. And it was there for a while in a smaller way. But I seen it and recognized it as a good thing. So that's the connectivity, knowing where, not only knowing where our food comes from, but knowing how we can produce it and how we can have it here without having to transport it across thousands and thousands and thousands of miles to get here, right? Whether it be by air, by boat, or whatever, right? I mean, we can grow all our own food, so why don't we?
And there would be so much more community if you're all helping each other out in your area, and that's a great thing that we need more of.
We need to get back to that because that's where we used to be, and we did get very far away from that, right? We went in becoming subjects to fear and distrust, and until we get past that, yeah, problem won't get fixed. But we can fix it within ourselves, right? And we fix it within ourselves, and we can fix it within our neighboring community and in the ways that we can, and it will happen. But you have to take that step too, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons, we do what we do here. It's to help, and I'm glad to help anybody I can, and I don't have to have necessarily a trade going on because of it, right? If I have that capacity, I can do it just for the sake of doing it, and I'm quite happy that way, right? There's not about, oh, I do this for you, you do that for me. It's, I mean, yes, there's times where trade is good, right? And that can happen locally, and that's a good thing. That I would prefer that as opposed to not knowing where anything came from and just wondering about what you're actually getting or consuming, right? So, yeah, that's what I think. And I don't get paid for thinking, so it's all free. Yeah.
Giving it goes both ways.
Giving does.
Like it feels good to do it, and that's the reward in itself.
Exactly. And that's what you want to see is just the reward in the action, right? It should never be an expectation. It should never be a competition. It should never be a set standard. You do it because that's what you do. That's your self-harmony, right? That's your self-awareness and your self-fullness. Is you do it because that's what you want to do and you can.
I love that you said self-fullness. That I rarely ever heard that word in my lifetime, but the book I'm reading right now,
Yeah.
I read that within the last few days, so that's cool that you said that.
Yeah.
I like that term.
Good. Well, I think it's
Self-fullness.
very important, like being aware of our the fullness and abundance of life we have is amazing, and to me, self-fullness is something we often very easily overlook and don't realize how full our lives actually are, how full and complete they are without any complications. Yeah.
It's all about what you focus on.
That's right. How we focus and what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for someone who's moving towards living an off-grid lifestyle? I think you've probably already shared some, but
I did share that, I think, in a roundabout way maybe, but my best advice if you want to live an off-grid lifestyle, know what you want. Know what you want. Pursue it with your passion. And if you really want those rewards, don't give up. The rewards are very fulfilling, and you just have to know that that's what you really want, right? Don't be scared to take those steps that are going to require risk, right? I did a thing one time. I says, when you do nothing, you risk nothing. And that's very true. If you don't take any effort to try anything, you're not going to risk anything. You're pretty well safe that way, right? But if you want to experience your life, if you want to experience things, you're going to have to take some sort of a risk. Sooner or later, you got to step out there.
get out of your comfort zone.
And you're going to have to realize that, yeah, I am not in control. I am part of. And that's a nice thing to see, right? Is that we're not in control, we're part of. And when you see that we're part of something bigger, it's great because then you're free. And that's the best way to have it, right? So that's my best advice for somebody that wants to start off great. Take the risk. Know what you want. and follow through with it. So,
Well, that about does it. Do you have any parting words for the viewers or for myself?
well, I appreciate this opportunity to do this interview with you. It's been a pleasure to share what I can share. I live my life the best way I know how, and I make no claims as it's the only way to live. It is my way to live, though, for me, and I am happy with that. Whatever you do it to the fullest and best of your ability. Embrace it. Be passionate about it, and love the fullness and the abundance of what you receive in all of it. That's my parting words.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
you bet.
Thanks for
Okay,
letting me be here, and
no worries. Oh, my
it's an
pleasure.
honor to listen to the stories you have and learn from them. And
Yeah, I can rattle on a long time.
this is just one step of my dream coming true. Learning from people like yourself, and
Good.
this is just so cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, been a pleasure as always.
Good. Thank you.